the only props we really need are the platform and any other small props you think you might generally need for your own modifications, but otherwise just reformer and platform. And universal setting is if you take this stopper out, this little thing here, and you count from the bar. So there's 6 holes here. So you're in the second hole, which is bringing you closer to this bar. And then the gear bar is this thing. You want to make sure you always have the gear bar so that that crater is pointed outward towards the foot bar direction. So the ball of the spring sits properly in that little crater and can't move. All right, so we're gonna start now, basically. So we're gonna put 1 red spring on, universal setting, so gear bar 2, stopper 2, and put the platform over the springs and up against the wood. All right, so we're gonna come onto our hands and knees, bringing the hands under the shoulders, the knees under the hips. Lengthen through your spine, push the carriage out just enough that you feel some work through the back of the legs to hold the carriage out so it's not all the way in. If you need to, you can always move your knees further forward in order to find that position and have a little bit of tension pushing the platform, the carriage away. So the knees are pushing out just underneath the hips. Yeah, stay there for a second. Feel a little shift from side to side, shifting one way and then the other, and then find the center of all of that. You're going to try to stay in the center while you reach one hand forward and bring that hand back down. Stay in the center as you reach the other hand forward and bring it back down. If you want this to be a little harder, bring your knees all the way together. You'll feel more of that oblique work in order to keep from shifting side to side. See if you can keep the carriage still. Yeah, hold the carriage out a little bit more, Carrie. Yeah, there we go. Good, so your shoulders are over your wrists, your knees are underneath your hips. Awesome. Stay there in the center, hold, reach one leg out behind you without anything changing. Keep that stability and let the leg go down towards the floor at the side and then lift up and back. And again, going down towards the floor at the side and press up and back. As you do this a couple times, you're trying to keep your back in the same position. Try not to let the carriage come in all the way. You're trying to hold the carriage still. If the springs are too heavy and all you feel is like struggle, then you may need to lighten your springs a little bit. Everybody has their carriage away from the stopper, hopefully. Yeah? Okay, good. And one more time, try to keep both elbows the same amount of straight. Bring that foot down and the other leg reaches out and the leg goes down into the side, up and back. As you do this a few times, see if you can create more length through the spine. Long, reaching out, head away from the tail. You should feel that standing hip, back of the leg working a little bit to hold you in the center. And try to stay as much in the middle between the right and left as you can. Nice, everyone. And one more time. Bring your knees both down, round your back to bring the carriage in towards the stopper, and then lengthen your back out to neutral to return the carriage out. And do that a couple times, rounding, slight shift back so your pelvis is going slightly towards your heels. It'll help you stretch out the lower back. Carriage comes in as you cat back. Carriage goes out as you go to neutral. Carriage coming in. Yeah, carriage going out. And if it doesn't feel like a big range of motion, just move your knees forward. You'll have more range. Yeah, nice. Nice, Melanie. One more time, rounding and pressing back out. Bring the carriage back in. Carefully lift up your platform and switch to a half spring or 3/4 if you want it to be a little more difficult. Make sure you're aware how much lighter this is. This is half the spring tension before you push out. Will be a lot easier to press out. Connect through your upper body. We're gonna stay in that stable position, hips over the knees, carriages out away from the stopper, reach opposite arm and leg out. Bring that arm and leg back down. Reach the other arm and leg out. You're trying to not drift in or out. You're trying to not shift side to side. As you alternate on your own timing from one side to the other, holding the carriage away from the stopper. Good. And a couple more, reaching out and bringing it in. Nice. If you'd like to add to this, you can reach the arm and leg out, hold the arm still, lower and lift the leg to the side 4 times. Yeah, think more about staying neutral than your leg flying up really fast. It's more of an elongation. That looked really different, Robbie. And then switch to the other side if you're doing the 4. Otherwise, you've got 4 more. Other leg is going down and up 4 times. 2, 3, and 1 more 4. And then bring yourself all the way back in. Bring your legs together. Push yourself into a little shawl stretch. Stretch the lower back out. And come to kneeling, facing the side. So put your hands, one on the carriage, one on the platform, and then your knees first on the platform because it doesn't move, and then the carriage. Push the carriage out. It's pretty light. Stretch your inner thighs out. Round your back up towards the ceiling. Take a big stretch so that cat back again. So one long line to press out, cat back, round to pull back in. Think of initiating from the inner thighs to draw the carriage back in. And one more time, lengthening out and drawing the carriage back in. Carefully scoot to your carriage so that both your hands and knees are on the carriage. We might end up making the tension a little greater, but you're gonna put your foot against kind of the edge of the platform. You're not trying to be on the top horizontal surface. You're also not on the vertical surface. You're on that corner. Push the carriage out and let your arms shift the carriage further towards the back of the reformer. And then bend your knee and come back in. Do that a few times. Stretch the inner thighs open and push with your arms to assist. And pressing out, open through the inner thigh, yeah. It feels weird on my foot and ankle if I have my foot on the top of the platform. It's just kind of in a position that I don't love. So try to be as neutral as possible through your ankle if that's a possibility. Let's do it. Yeah, nice. One more time. Pushing out, big stretch of the inner thighs open, bring the carriage all the way back in. Crawl a little bit further until you can stand up on your knees. This is an unstable surface. Most of you have been here before. Grab the strap that's closer to you, the front shoulder rest. Make sure you're connected through your abdominals. And then hold onto the strap with both arms and go into rotation from the torso. Anytime you're kneeling up here, you want to be pretty mindful facing the side. Knock on wood, it's a little harder to fall over, but it's possible. I've seen all of everything. When we face other directions, it's a little trickier, but trying to keep the pelvis still, trying to rotate from the upper body. Should feel like your abdominals are working to rotate you. Yeah, nice. One more time. And then holding your elbow down at your side, do external rotation. If it's a little too heavy, scoot closer to the shoulder rest. It makes it a little lighter. So it's like you're holding a clutch purse or newspaper underneath that arm, between the ribs and the arm. And you're trying to feel the back of your rotator cuff. So it's not the hardest thing you've ever done, but try not to let your arm drift around your rib cage. It makes it, it turns it into different muscles We want it to be rotator cuff. So you're wide across the front of the collarbone. Your arm is just rotating like a paper towel roll. That's better. Yeah. One more time. Take the strap in the inside hand, the back hand closer to the pulleys. Push your arm across and rotate your upper body. Use a little bit of momentum so that you can get that rotation to happen, but try to keep tension in the rope the whole time. Most of you have a quarter spring, so if you needed to go lighter, you could. You just want to be sure that you're balanced before you took off. Yeah. 2 more. And 1 last time. Nice. And then coming back in. We're still on our knees. Again, you can go to the quarter spring if you need to, but you're going to back your knees up a little bit. Keep that same strap you were holding on. Put your other hand on the headrest. You can fold the strap in half or fold it over the metal clip, just so it's a little easier to hold on to. Keep neutral and straight arm is pressing back. This starts out really easy, so as long as it feels like a little bit of tension and you're working some, that's good enough. It doesn't have to be the heaviest thing you've ever tried to move. Wide across the collarbone. Hey, Dana, while you're standing up, will you move your camera angle down just a little bit? I'll be able to help you better. Yeah. Sanjita, see if you can back your knees up and get more neutral so your hips are 90 degrees at the front of the hip instead of having your knees so far underneath you. You've got to back them up for your height. Yeah, that's good. It'll make it feel a little bit more challenging. Awesome. So then hold your arm back by your side, bend and straighten the elbow a few times. If some of you are itching for more challenge, make sure you're balanced, but you could try extending the opposite leg out. It's a lot more balanced, so you decide if that's appropriate for today. I know we're just getting back into this New Year swing of things. Bend and straighten. Long through the spine. Good. Last one. Keep the arm straight like plow. The arm goes down. Good. Unfold the strap and just hold on near the metal clips, but not up quite as high as you were. Lift your arm up towards the horizontal plane and press your arm to your hip. Open back out to the side. Lots more work here. So you definitely are going to feel this in the standing arm. Feel like your obliques are working. Same time, you're trying to not shift to the side. If it's a little too hard, don't be so horizontal. Let your arm be slightly lower. We're not going to do a million. 4 more. One more here. And then you can sit down. If you've adjusted your springs at all, make sure you come back to that half spring for this. So sitting, take your legs forward through the shoulder rests, cross them over if you need to fit. Make sure there's at least a hand's distance behind you on the carriage so you couldn't fall off. You're welcome to use platforms if you need. Take your arm, the same arm we've been moving, the one closer to the camera for pretty much all of us. Reach your arm like airplane straight out to the side. The palm can be down or forward. If it helps you to balance yourself out and feel symmetrical, you can move the other arm as well. But I just have my other arm on my leg. Yeah, try not to lean back. See if you can sit up really straight and tall. Good. Trying to connect to the back of the shoulder. One more time. And then grab a hold of the strap. Take both arms forward in this kind of like holding a bunch of logs or holding your baguettes in Paris if you want to travel. That's what I'm thinking about. So you're going to round back and bicep curl at the same time. You're not trying to go down into the floor. You're trying to round through the lower back. Stay there. And just do a few bicep curls just to get the feel for this. Bend and straighten. Usually lighter is harder on this. So if you need to adjust, you can. It's not so much about the bicep curl. It's more about the abdominal connection to hold you there. Awesome. Good. On your next one, you're going to bicep curl. Stay in the bicep curl. Flex forward like you're bringing your head towards your knees, and then sit back up really tall. One more time, we're going to start the same way, holding those baguettes. Round back, stay. Reach your arms up overhead and bend them back into that bicep curl position. You're not moving the shape of the spine. You're moving the carriage from the movement of the arms. Yeah. And obviously it's harder the further up your hands go, so you decide. Pull in the abs more. Feel that opposition of the feet reaching forward as the head is reaching up into the ceiling. 2 more. And last one. Bicep curl, come forward over the legs and stack back up. Last thing here, open your elbows out to the side like you're hugging a tree. Don't have your hands touch each other though. Round back, pulling the arms into the chest. You're gonna rotate and push your arms up on the high diagonal. Your arm's not down towards the floor, it's up to the ceiling. Come back in and just rotate that direction several times. So we're only going towards the strap we're holding onto. Rotate, center. Exhale as you rotate. Come to center. Try not to lean back, but round through the lower spine. Hopefully you feel some abdominals. That's right. If you turn your hands towards your face this way, you're going to have a better time with the shoulders. If you're trying to punch up like with the palms facing out, it's not going to work. It's like a scooping, that baguettes feeling again. So yeah, that's better. One more time. Good. Come forward and stack back up. Good. Okay, so come off of the reformer and we're gonna keep our half spring. We're gonna be facing the second direction. So kneeling, you're always welcome to sit instead of kneel. Hold the strap that's closer to you and start with your torso rotation side twist. Very vertical through the spine, connected through the abdominals, feeling like you're keeping enough glute back of the hip work happening to stabilize you. Up and around. Trying to reach out of the top of the head, get taller through the spine. Three more. And last one. And then you'll take your hand, your outside hand, holding the strap, that external rotation. We're going for the back of the rotator cuff, the back of the shoulder. So it's the arm closer to the foot bar that's moving. This is that feeling of like you're holding a newspaper under your arm and you're just spiraling through the upper arm, trying to connect to the back of the shoulder. Good, do a few more here. Try not to let your upper body turn for this one, so you stay straight. That's right, using the glutes from the back to keep that sense of lift through the pelvis. Pulling up through the front of the abdominals. Two more. And one last time. Take the strap on the back hand again. Hold your elbow out to the side. Your arm's gonna punch across as you rotate. So it's like you're going towards the corner of the room in front of you. So you're not trying to be like an owl and turn all the way around yourself. You're trying to rotate towards the diagonal, slightly in front of the foot bar corner. Use your breath, keep pulling up on the front of the pelvis. Keep going. Yeah, see if you can keep your hips really still. Last two. And last one. And then put your strap back down for a moment. I might be going in a different order, but we'll get to everything. Put your hands and knees on the carriage and on the platform and just stretch the inner thighs open. Round your back to come back in. And push the carriage out. Stretch the inner thighs, round the back to come all the way back in. And pressing out, nice. Rounding to come in. Should feel like the spring is supporting you, so if it doesn't, you may choose to add a little. Yeah, use the arms to help push apart. One more time. And then just mindfully crawl onto the carriage so that both hands and both knees are on there. Bring your foot to the edge of that platform. Obviously, the leg closer to the platform has to do it. And then push out and sweep the arms towards the back of the reformers to push the carriage out. Yeah, pushing out. You don't have to come all the way in, kind of depends on your flexibility, your mobility, your body proportions. So don't feel like it has to come all the way in. Use your arms to help you. They shouldn't be kind of collapsing under you. Yeah, that's it. Pushing out and coming in. Last one, pushing out and coming all the way back in. Good. Set your knee down on the carriage and turn towards the back of the reformer. You're still holding the strap that's further away from the camera. So fold your strap in half, bring your hand onto the headrest. You're kind of off center, slightly towards away from the camera. And then just start by pulling the arm down and back and then reaching the arm back forward. You can decide how folded over the strap needs to be for you to get some initial tension. Pressing out and return. Yeah, if you want it to be a little more work for the core, bring the knees all the way together. You'll feel how you have to work more to balance and stay centered. At this point, it should feel pretty reasonable through the standing arm that most of the work is in the core and the torso. Nice. And then press the arms back, the arm back towards the hips and do your tricep press. Bend and straighten the elbow. Bend and straighten. A couple of you added the opposite leg reaching out. If that feels possible today, go for it. Otherwise, keep the knee down. Yeah, bending the elbow, straightening wide across the front of the collarbone. Use your breath to help you. One more time. And then bring the arm back forward. Unfold the strap a little bit so you have a little longer grip and hold your arm up towards horizontal. And then the arm is going to come back towards the hip across the horizontal. Like on the other side, if it's too hard, just lower your arm a little bit so it's less horizontal. Awesome, Anita. Yeah, and try to go in a full range where the carriage comes all the way back to the stopper. Two more. And then return the carriage, crawl forward a little bit so that you can sit down and make sure you're going to sit on the carriage. Make sure there's at least a hand's distance behind you. Cross your legs over and then make sure to switch which crossing you had earlier. Usually there's a comfortable side and there's a less comfortable side, so do the less comfortable option. At least a hand's distance behind you. Good. Start with the arm palm either forward or down, wide across the collarbone, sitting up nice and tall, pressing through the back of the arm. If it helps you to do both arms, you can. Keeping your body in the center. Yeah. Anytime we're in these seated positions, you're welcome to use that platform and sit on it so that you don't feel hip flexor tension. Nice. 2 more. And then bringing your arm back in front of you. Make sure you have at least a half spring to start so you don't surprise yourself. So you're gonna have that bicep curl type position. We're gonna round back, bicep curl, and straighten and bend the elbows. They might not straighten all the way, that's okay. Bicep curl and return. On this light spring tension, hopefully you're feeling some abdominal work. That pelvis is spinning underneath you. You're opening through the front of the hip joints, like the opposite of sitting in a chair. Yeah, scooping through the abdominals. 2 more. And last one, keep the bicep curl. Flex forward over your legs like you're going over a beach ball. And then stack back up nice and tall. From here, we're gonna do that same position again. So you're gonna round back, bicep curl, and then you're gonna try to reach the arms up towards the ceiling, bend the arms back in, reach up and bend back in. You can do your own timing. If it's too hard, just let the elbow be a little more open so you're not so much in the bicep curl before you start. Stay in the center for this one. So no rotation. This was just lifting and lowering the arms. Yeah. Dana, turn your palms to face towards your face. Yeah, and it'll help you keep your shoulders away from your ears. Last one. Ginge, try not to send your head forward on these. Come forward over your legs and stack back up. We have one more, the one with the rotation. So you're holding, hugging a tree trunk. You're gonna round back and then rotate the arms and reach up on that diagonal. So you're rotating the ribs, you're rotating the arms, the palms face towards your face. You come back to the center with your ribs. Reach the arms up and just going to that one side. Abs are holding you up. If you're feeling lots of, oh, I thought you were rubbing your leg, Carrie. You're rubbing the dog. Got it. The dog and your leggings match. And good. One more. And then come forward over your legs and stack back up. Awesome. Step off to the side of the reformer. And we're gonna put the foot bar up. You can move the platform aside for now and switch to, keep the half spring. Just making sure. Okay, sorry about that. I'm just making sure my power is on. Sorry guys, I'm just switching cameras because it looked like the power wasn't working with the version I was using. Anyways, I didn't want my battery to die. So we're gonna take the platform to the side of the reformer. You guys can all hear me, right? Yeah, okay, good. Half spring. If you're on a lower reformer, you might not need to stand on the platform, but you're gonna stand so that you're in this kind of flamingo stance with your knee kind of in front of the standing leg. Nice and vertical. So most of the time you're gonna need to step backwards further than you think. Yeah, okay, good. So from there, you're just gonna push the carriage back just a little bit and push out and pull back in a couple times, moving the carriage out a couple inches, pulling it back in. So if you're on a high reformer, unless you're really tall, you'll need to stand on the platform. Push, pull. Push, pull. It's not heavy. It's about keeping the pelvis from tipping, pulling up, and not letting your standing leg drift backwards. Push out, pull in. You're just trying to get your knees in line with each other. Many of you need to step back quite a lot because you're starting with your knee already behind you. Like a lot. My foot is at least halfway, behind the halfway mark of the carriage. Yeah. And then straighten your standing leg and pull up your pelvis towards vertical. I'm still not getting it. I'm getting a totally different exercise, which is with the leg forward and you guys are pushing the leg behind you. We're getting to that, but if you could start by stepping your foot way back towards the shoulder rest so the knee on the carriage is way in front of the other leg. Why do I care? Because we're trying to connect different muscles to open up the front of the hip. So stand up really tall, straight standing leg, push the carriage back and pull it back in. All the way to the stopper, all the way to the stopper. Yeah, and so many of you are drifting backwards as you push out. I don't want any movement in the torso or the standing leg. Reach the arms out to the side. We'll have to keep working on this because it's not exactly happening as I want. You're gonna rotate your upper body towards the standing side as you push out. Rotate. Yeah, nice carry. Don't try to take your leg behind you. I know it's light, but I want you to bring your knee down towards the floor. So you're bringing your knees in line with each other and you're trying to keep neutral pelvis. If you're tipped back and your butt's sticking out and you're not vertical, it's a totally different exercise. Not that it's something I would have you do normally. Yeah, that's better. Good. Do a couple more here. Pushing out, pulling in, pushing out. Yeah, stay there. Bring the carriage all the way into the stopper. See if you can lift your leg in front of you. Off everything. Hold your balance, connect to your glute, hold. And then put your foot back down and do a couple more from that connection of the glute. Push out, pull in, push out. Robbie, see if you can pull up your pelvis more towards vertical. Yes, that's it. And last two. And last one, bring the carriage back in, switch to one red spring, move the platform forward a little bit. Now we're gonna do what you guys all wanted to do to begin with. And you're gonna step your foot further forward towards the front edge of the carriage. You may have to adjust a little further than that. Find this lunge position, so your torso's hinged forward, and then you push your back leg out towards straight, square your hips off, take that front hand and barely use it on the foot bar, bend and press. Does this feel like more work? Yeah. It feels like you have to work a lot harder to keep everything stable and not shift forward and back, but it's just a different skill set that we're working on. More strength building here. The other was more balance and control and hip opening. Add your arms reaching however you can add them in. As the leg goes back, maybe the arms will reach forward. Nice. 4 more. Last one. Bring the carriage all the way back in. Step your foot even further forward. Put both hands on the bar. Push the back leg out to straight and straighten the front leg. Both legs are straight. Push out a little bit and then pull the carriage back in with straight legs. Pitch your body forward over the foot bar. Do that a couple times just to get the feel for it. As you go backwards, you might choose to lift the toes up and flex the foot. As you come forward, lift the heel. As you go back, lift the toes. Yeah. Then if you want to make this fly, as we come in, we're going to lift the leg, push out, lift the front leg as you come in, Push out, use your arms, pull yourself forward. You can kind of kick that leg forward. If you want, you can bend it in. The hips lift a little bit. Yeah, nice. Just try a couple of each. I think it's harder to keep the legs straight and kick it forward. One more time. And then set your knee down, bring the carriage all the way in. Add another spring to this. Whichever leg was forward is still going to be forward on the foot bar, or you could do, you'd have to walk around to the other side of the reformer. Whichever leg is forward on the last, do your single thigh stretch here on the high bar. If you need to do the standing on the floor version, then walk around the reformer so you still have the same leg forward, the same leg back. 2 red springs, don't make it light. No lighter than 1.5 springs. Why? Because I don't want you stretching your superficial fascia, ligaments, things like that, that don't have any elasticity. Well, they do have elasticity, but they don't go back once you stretch them out. I want you to open your muscles. So you got to connect that back butt, glute, hamstring, push the carriage out. So it actively is working against that opening of the front. Nice. Stand up, take the platform, walk around to the other side. Put it further back so it's more in line with the edge of the platform, or the edge of the carriage that is towards the shoulder rest. Switch to your half spring. Stand on the platform and on the carriage. You're in this flamingo stance. So before you even start, the carriage in, the knee on the carriage is much forward of the other one. And then you're trying to pull up on the front of the pelvis. You could put one hand on the front of the pelvis, one hand on the back. If you guys are on the lower reformer, I can't demonstrate that because I don't really think I can find, maybe, but if I bring my reformers so it's more low like yours is, it's a different feeling being here. You might put the platform on the carriage on the low reformer so that you're a little higher.
Are we on a red spring or?
The half spring.
Thank you. Okay, I can do it.
Sorry. You're like, I can't move. So as you're pushing the leg out and in, it'd be better if you put the platform on the carriage if you're on a low reformer. Hopefully that made sense. Add your upper body rotating towards the standing leg. Rotate and center. Rotate and center. Kind of swingy, flowy feeling. Nice. Yeah. Hopefully you feel some work through that standing leg. Bring the carriage in. Lift your foot off the carriage and balance there for a second. Hold. Find that connection of the glute that you're working with right now and just do a couple extra. Rotate and rotate. As you rotate, you're pushing it out. So you're trying to get your knee to go straight down, open across the front of the hip. It's like you're starting more like you're sitting in a chair kind of position. And as your leg comes under you, it's more like you're standing. And last one, bring the carriage back in, slide the platform forward, switch to one red spring. Here's the one we all love. So move your foot forward on the floor. You probably don't need platforms or anything on the carriage if you're on a low reformer. And then you're gonna push the carriage out and in this lunge position. Once you've got that going, add your arms. So reaching the arms out, pull it in, reach out. Nice. Let go of that hand early. I know you can. There we go. Good, and pushing out, pulling in, yeah. On the lower reformer, obviously you have more range. You could go down lower if you wanted, but Just go as low as it feels good for your body today. Four more. Keep your hips square. Last one. Come all the way back in. Step your foot even further forward. Straighten both legs, put both hands on the bar. Push the carriage out and lift the front toes. Pull the carriage in and lift the front heel. Yeah. Push out and pull in. Good, and then you can start to let that fly a little bit more by lifting the front leg as the body goes over the foot bar. Push into the arms. Obviously, you don't have to add that. You also can try tucking the knee up towards the shoulder or chest. That back glute stays really firm. As you push out, try not to think of sinking way down. More or less, your pelvis stays the same height. The work's coming from the glute. Does that make sense? Yeah, see if you guys can not sink down as you push out. Anita, early. That looks good, everybody. Yeah. Yeah, exactly. So keep that connection around the standing hip as you push out so you don't sink down. About two more of whatever you're doing. And then bring the carriage back in. Scooch onto the carriage or walk around to the other side. Same leg will be forward. 2 red springs. You can go a little lighter if you're a petite person, but don't go past 1.5 springs. Push out in your big single thigh stretch. Yeah, nice. Pushing out and pull it back in a couple times. Pressing out, you should feel that back glute working. And one more time, press out and come all the way back in. Awesome. Put both feet down and we're gonna stand up into our elephant. So if you don't have 2 red springs, switch to 2 red springs. Hands on the foot bar, feet as flat as they can be on the horizontal surface up against the shoulder rest. Round your back up towards the ceiling. Push out and pull back in a few times. As you push and pull, connect into your shoulders so they're not creeping way up towards your ears. As you do this, you're in a round back, and each time the carriage comes in, you're trying to pull the carriage in by rounding the spine more. Pull and round. Yeah. Awesome. So this can feel really easy, and I'm not saying that's a bad thing. That kind of swinging pendular movement of the legs feels quite good. But see if you can, each time the carriage comes in, see if you can feel like you're lifting your bottom ribs up further, almost like there's a picket fence under your bottom ribs and you're trying to lift the ribs a little bit further away from it. This is one of those, since you have a reformer in your house, you should consider doing almost every day, because it's just a nice way to open up the entire posterior chain from the foot all the way to the back of the arms and head. And then come back in. Come into your high half toe position, so heels up a little bit on the shoulder rest, yeah. And then just do a couple elephant here. It's not gonna feel that much different. It might feel even easier. In a moment, we're gonna try to lower our bodies down to our knee stretches position. If it's too much, set your knees all the way down and do knee stretches with the knees down, and I'll show you both. So bring the carriage back in, hold the carriage in, bend your knees, bend your elbows, so you're in this really hard crouch rabbit kind of position. Your butt's not up and your knees barely bent. That's easy. I could stay there all day. Shift your weight forward, yeah. And then push the carriage out and in by straightening and bending the knees. If you need to come all the way down, knee stretches round back down here. Anita, Robbie, bend, round your backs. Carrie, see if you can round your back more. Yeah. That's right. Sanjita, see if you can put 2/3 of your weight back towards your heels and not a lot of weight in the hands. Bend your elbows, round your back like cat back. And then the movement is coming from the back of the legs, not from the arms. Yeah, so don't let your face kind of drift around. Space hold through the face. I know that's a weird way of saying it, but round your back, round your back. Everybody round their backs. As you're pushing out and in, the challenge of this is in keeping that shortening of the abdominals in the front. Not that easy to do. Stand back, switch to 1.5 springs. So red and blue, and then standing back up carefully. Put your heels in that high half toe position, round back elephant position again. So scoop and round your back as much as you can. Should feel a little bit more like abdominal work each time the carriage comes in. Round your back more, pull the carriage in from your abdominals. Round your back, pull in from your abdominals. Good. Try to bring the carriage all the way in, shoulders staying connected. If you'd like to lift one leg, you can hover it behind the shoulder rest. And as the carriage comes in, lift the leg up, but keep the round back. Push out, pull in. Lower the leg, lift the leg as the carriage comes in. Lower the leg as it goes out, lift it as it comes in. Should feel like your abs are working a lot here to move the leg and to stabilize the position of the body. Yeah, last one. Set that foot down. If you're doing both legs at the same time, just keep going. Other leg is reaching out. Push the carriage out. As the carriage comes in, lift your leg in the air. Round, lift, lower, and lift. Yeah, try to round your spine, everybody. I know I'm a broken record here, but it doesn't feel very hard if you're not in that round back position. Awesome. Yeah, exactly. Last two. And last one. Bring the carriage back in, set your knees down. Switch back to your 2 red springs. Either keep your knees down and neutral spine, knee stretches, or stand up into your high half toe position. Lower yourself down to neutral spine. Push the carriage out and pull it in. If your knees are down, 2/3 of your weight is back. Push out, pull in, push out, pull in. It's a small, tight movement. It's not trying to go to a full plank if your knees are down. You're trying to feel like your body is not shifting forward and back, and you'll probably feel some work in the front of the legs. Awesome, Anne. Yeah, Melanie, go, go, go. And then come all the way back in and pause. Good. We're gonna do one more little series of things. Come off to the side. I'm just facing away from you so that you get a head view, not a butt view of me. But 2 red springs will help keep the carriage still. You're gonna lay down on the carriage with your hands behind your head and your legs up in tabletop. Good. Once you're there, flex your upper body up and across towards one thigh, and then center back off. And then go up and across the other way. Exactly. Slide ribs to hips. If you're on a low reformer, it would be easy to put the box under your feet and put your feet down if it's too much. If you're on a higher reformer, you'd have to do a box and stack some stuff on top of it to put the feet down. If you want more challenge, you can add a toe tap to this. So as you go up and across towards the leg in tabletop, the other leg descends down towards the floor. You don't have to touch the floor. You're going as far as you can stabilize. Yeah, awesome. Take breaks wherever you need to. Nice, everyone. Try to make a nice, clear tabletop position so your legs aren't just kind of floppy up in tabletop. They're in a clear, active engagement. Yeah, good. Those of you on that low reformer, it's going to be easier to touch the floor. If you're on a high reformer, a little bit harder. Good. And then coming all the way back in. Grab behind one leg and come up to sitting. Once you're sitting, straddle your reformer, scooch pretty far forward, and then switch to one spring. Put your hands on the bar, push the carriage out, and just do this big opening, stretch through your upper back. Feel like your chest is going forward. You're trying to bring your back into extension. Keep the extension and come back up. Keep the extension, tip it forward. Keep the extension and come back up. My feet are just kind of dragging on the floor. So try to stay extended the whole time. So your whole body is bowed forward and you're just tipping that bowed shape. Ginge, see if as you go forward, don't lead with your head. Lead with, it feels like my chest, like somebody's pulling your heart forward. So you stay in extension. Stay in extension as you go forward. Yeah, why are we doing this? Well, it's going to help us with a down stretch in a second. Yeah, it also feels pretty good. One more time. Push out into that extension, then round your back and cat back to come in. Lengthen your spine, find your extension, push the carriage out in extension. Round your belly away from the springs to roll back in and up. And pushing out, round your back, cat back to come in. One more time, pushing out and cat back to come back in. Good. We're gonna put 1.5 springs on. You're always welcome to adjust a little bit because that's gonna be an average spring tension. Let's put the feet against the shoulder rests again. Sit back towards your heels like you're going to do your knee stretches again, but we're not. You're gonna start in neutral and then just round your back up towards the ceiling in the cat back without shifting your weight forward. And then lengthen back out to one long line. And do that again, round your back, lengthen out to one long line. You could stick with this if this is most appropriate for you today, or as you lengthen your spine to neutral, you're gonna start to push the carriage out and find that bowed shape of the spine, that extension. This is down stretch. You're gonna push the carriage out and in 3 times, keeping that extension shape, lifting the heart and chest to the ceiling. On the last one, you'll push the carriage out and then round the spine to bring everything back in like you're getting punched in the stomach. Yeah, I'll cue that again. So you start to lengthen towards neutral from tail to head, and then you push the carriage out. You're in that bowed, extended spine. Push out, pull in. You're trying to keep the shape the same, maybe increase the extension through the upper back. On your last one, you push the carriage out, then like you get punched in the stomach, round to pull it all the way back in. One last time. From tail to head, you start to lengthen and then you push the carriage out from the back of the legs. Lift the spine. Feel like you're sending your heart up to the ceiling. On the last one, push the carriage out, round your back, and come all the way back in. Once you get all the way back in, we're gonna switch to 2 red springs again. We're gonna come to that lane on the carriage position again. Hands behind the head. Slide your ribs towards your hips. And we're gonna just extend one leg out towards straight, single leg stretch style. As you're extending the leg out, if you'd like, you can add your upper body rotating towards that leg as it straightens. Reach out and reach out and reach out. Exhale with each one. Keep pulling into your imprint. Of course, you can keep the legs tabletop if this is too much. And 4, 3, 2, and last one. Grab behind one leg, let the other leg drop to come all the way back in. Last thing, put the straps on the floor. Switch to a half spring. And put that platform over the rails between the headrest and the pulleys. Kneel on the carriage, hands on the platform. Shift your weight forward so your hips are in a little bit of extension and round your back into that cat shape. And try to pull the carriage forward by scooping up through the abdominals more. Pulling the carriage forward by going into that cat back more. Round your back as the carriage returns to the stopper. It should feel very hard work to keep that rounding through the spine. If your spine is neutral, it's going to feel relatively easy. So try to shorten the front of the abdomen and lengthen through the back of the body. Good. If you've done this before and you'd like to go from neutral into flexion, feel free to do that. Otherwise, just do a couple more rounding, lengthening the spine, trying to stretch the back of the body open. I need a more cat back. I'm not seeing it. It's somewhere in there. Oh, yeah, that's it. Awesome. And then you're going to sit back towards your heels and stretch your armpits open. Let your head rest. Take a few breaths here, just opening up through the armpits. And then it's pretty light, so be mindful as you come off of there. But you're all done. Good job.